I just wanted to update you on a story that we covered last night. The end of the Democratic Party, as we've known it for the last 80 years, is upon us. And as Democrats continue to fly to Central America to sip margaritas at Club Med with Kilmar Abregu Garcia, an illegal alien, criminal, MS-13 gang member, citizen of El Salvador, who beat up his wife to the point where she took out a restraining order against him. According to the Department of Homeland Security, Kilmar Abregu Garcia, that sweet, precious, loving Maryland father, was pulled over in Tennessee in 2022 with 8 other illegal aliens. None of them had luggage. They were driving the car of a convicted human trafficker. And when police asked old Kilmar where he got the car, Kilmar said that it belonged to his boss, meaning you can now add suspected human trafficker to that long list. And this is the guy the Democrats are pinning all their twisted, weird hopes on. The wife-beating, human trafficking, MS-13 gang member, illegal alien from El Salvador, meaning since Inauguration Day, 92 days ago, to Democrats, this right here is a hero. Kilmar Abregu Garcia, a hero. This right here is Snow White, Rachel Ziegler. This is an astronaut, Gayle King. She's an astronaut, and this is your 2028 Democratic nominee, AOC. Let that sink in. Because to Democrats, everything I just said is absolutely true. And that's why their party is failing. And it's happening in Montgomery County, Maryland, just south of Baltimore, just north of Washington, home to Bethesda, Maryland, one of the wealthiest, bluest suburbs in America, where parents, Jews, Muslims, Christians are fighting for the right to know what books teachers are reading to their children in elementary school, starting in pre-K, meaning 4 and 5 and 6-year-old kids. And the schools don't want to do it. Can you imagine if your son or your granddaughter, and again, we're not talking about the Berenstain Bears here, okay? We're talking about really odd books. In 2022, Montgomery County schools under Joe Biden introduced 20 new inclusivity books that were being read to students without parents knowing, starting in pre-K, something parents of all faiths in one of the bluest counties in America rejected immediately.
For a child of 5, 6, 7 years old, introducing any type of material that has to do with sexuality, I'm gonna remove, the LGBTQ plus as a category, just sexuality generally. I would be absolutely against that.
We were made to feel like we were somehow pariahs for saying, wait a minute, Montgomery County, let's bump the brakes. We would like to opt our child out, and every parent should have that right.
Again, none of these books are normal. None of this is normal. None of this was needed. We were all doing just fine until all of this woke started years ago. It all started with one book called Born Ready, the story of a boy named Penelope, which is an odd name for a boy. Turns out this is the story of a boy who transitions into a girl. Another book was called What Are Your Words? A book about pronouns, where kids don't just learn he, him pronouns, which is odd enough. They learn I, ihm, and sie, seiner. And I have absolutely no idea what that means. Next up, Intersection Allies, where we make room for all, which is a book about the smooth, gleeful entry into intersexual feminism. I've got a 6-year-old. Sounds like a good book for a 6-year-old. After that, it's The Prince in the Night, which is the story of a white prince who falls madly in love with a black knight, and they go horseback riding together in the woods. Next up, Love, Violet, the story of 2 little girls, one black, one white, who discover they are lesbians. Then we've got Uncle Bobby's Wedding, which is the thrilling tale of an interracial gay marriage, and the reception is absolutely fabulous. Then we have Jacob's New Dress, the story of a boy who dresses like a girl and wears a dress everywhere. And finally, we've got Rainbow Revolutionaries, 50 LGBTQ people who made history. I swear, when I was a kid, which was not that long ago, we read Hop on Pop. And I'm telling you, these people have completely lost their minds. And what you're about to hear is the attorney for the Montgomery County School District trying to defend a book about a drag queen at a pride parade called Pride Puppy. Again, this isn't happening in some courtroom in the middle of nowhere, America. This took place at the United States Supreme Court yesterday.
So Pride Puppy was the book that was used for the pre-kindergarten curriculum. That's no longer in the curriculum.
That's the one where they are supposed to look for the leather and things and bondage, things like that.
It's not bondage. It's a woman in a leather.
Sex worker, right?
No.
No?
That's not correct. No.
I read it.
It's a drag queen and
Drag
So-
queen and drag
Correct.
queen.
The leather that they're pointing to is a woman in a leather jacket. And one of the words is drag queen in the search.
And they're supposed to look for those.
It is an option at the end of the book, correct?
Yeah.
Neil Gorsuch, Supreme Court Justice, read a book about bondage to get ready for that case in his courtroom. And have you seen the cover of this book, Pride Puppy? It is just really confusing. I'm in my 40s, and I'm not sure what I'm looking at here. I've never seen a parade like that. It starts off with a woman who has a goatee and gray hair holding a baby. Then we have a black woman with green hair, followed by what I think is supposed to be a man in a wheelchair with golden hair. Then we've got an elderly white woman. Then we've got a black woman with purple hair and a kid with a dog with purple hair as well. Once again, none of that is normal. In fact, any one of those people, if you pass them on the street today, that would be the most interesting person you'd see all day, maybe all week, maybe all month, maybe all year. And that's just the cover of this book they want to read to 4-year-olds. The first page starts off with A is for awake, animals and all. And it shows two women of different races waking up in the same bed with a baby and a pet alligator. My goodness, that is one heck of a family right there. Again, they want to read these books to little kids. And not surprisingly, Joe Biden appointee Ketanji Brown Jackson took the side of the only school board in the country that wants to do this to little kids.
So it wasn't as though the books were being introduced for the purpose of enhancing the gender and sexuality component, and therefore people can opt out of that whole thing. It was that we're talking about English here. And in addition to the other kinds of picture books we have on the shelf and we talk about in class, we're going to introduce these books as well. I think that seems pretty infeasible in English when you're talking about reading instruction, that every time this particular kind of book comes out, we have to start letting people leave the classroom.
Is that so difficult, Ketanji? I don't think it is. Teachers in this school district were also instructed to tell students, again, starting at age 4, that doctors guessed their gender when they were born instead of telling students that God made some of us boys and made some of us girls, which is a very confusing concept for many Democrats, including Ketanji Brown Jackson, who has absolutely no idea what a girl is.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition? No,
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this context.
So
I'm
you
not a
believe the meaning
biologist.
Oh my goodness. All of this because parents wanted to know what kind of books teachers were reading to their kids in public school. That's it. But to Montgomery County, that was too much to ask. And the school board fought this all the way to the Supreme Court.
The president has been very clear. He stands on the side of parental rights, and he believes strongly that parents should have a greater say in their children's education.
It's also really important to note, and I want to make sure to get this out there, these parents aren't even trying to ban these books from these schools. But this was never about books, was it? Or reading, or learning, or growing, or education. It's about indoctrination. It's about indoctrinating children starting off at 4 years old. It is not a coincidence that this is happening in the wealthiest county outside Washington, D.C., the bluest part of America, Montgomery County. This was the Joe Biden test case. And if Kamala won in November, they would have rolled this quietly out nationwide. And if you disagree with that, that's fine. But let me ask you this. If you hated lima beans your whole life, but one day someone started telling you that lima beans were pretty darn good, every single day, lima beans are really good. After a while, you might start to think that lima beans were pretty darn good. You might even start to like them. You might even start to eat them, and that's exactly what they are trying to do in Montgomery County. Over the last decade, we have seen the number of trans people in this country more than double. We have more than any other country on the planet. Do you think that's a coincidence? Or do you think maybe there might be a reason for all of this? We certainly do. And that is why kids that are 4 years old are no longer reading books like Hop on Pop. Now they're reading books like Intersection Allies by people who are definitely not your ally.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.